Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 8th of September, and well, we had a little bit of softness that came in. We saw the NBI Magenta dip here below the 33, showing a little bit of softness. Still far from catastrophic with the NBI White so far below, but wouldn't take much for it to cross back above. This is sort of what we saw right here back in June. Minor from a softness standpoint, and certainly from a short standpoint, we'd be moving closer to it if we had at least a move of red towards the white that it's rejecting at this particular point. It's early in the day, but we clearly saw the separation here on the DOC cyan from green. That usually expresses some degree of weakness. Obviously, if you didn't have a reset of steel as we do, it'd be more problematic, but it's just a basic reset of the shakeout. The fact that we made higher shakeout histogram on the higher highs means it's likely to be not a severe type of move unless we get a dip here of extreme below red, which has not happened yet. So we're just playing with the ABMs, which in this particular case, actually we should just go ahead and highlight those so that you can see 45.12 range. And it's not surprising, we talked about this once we got over 45, that you'd go to like the 31 range and then come back to around 23. So we're now on both sides of it. We actually got up to almost 50 on the reading there. So a little bit outside of normal, which given today's movements with the broader ranges, not too shocking at all. From an NQ standpoint, likewise, just on its NBI yellow, but you can clearly see still much stronger than the S&P. I mean, that white well below and still riding nice and high above the 33 level on the NBI indicator for magenta and yellow. So doesn't mean that the DOC here expressing some degree of weakness isn't valid. It's just that you're not expecting it to be catastrophic at this particular point. You'd have to see that continue, and if it's already moving to DOC cyan getting towards the 7, you're not going to get that many readings that go above there. It doesn't usually happen, so you'd have to then sustain across, and it doesn't really take place that often. I think the last time was back over here in May, which led to a series of down days. Nothing catastrophic about there. From a gold standpoint, big pop, softened up a little bit, and a lot of this is going to be back and forth when the market experiences lower moves. Oftentimes people sell that gold position, cover margin, and things like that. So, but overall, we still see gold continuing to push higher. This is clearly weakness, though. This is, if you saw this on the daily, you'd be more concerned about short, because this is clearly a breakdown. The important one here would be this magenta white reading meet. If white exceeds it, then we might see a further pullback in gold. So we'll keep an eye out for that one. From a euro standpoint, a little bit of a softness as they realize that the euro, with this pump, still isn't strong enough to really do a whole lot. So Europeans still wanting to invest in dollars buys them up. The Fed's still going to keep pushing it. So you likely get that 50% retrace and then another attempt at a leg up for it. This was the, what do you call it, carnage on Bitcoin. This 30-minute chart here of it was showing the 60-minute chart with the NBI Opus T, and how just within this year, if you go back and look at the Skype chat, the amount of gains is equal to, actually greater than previous years combined, and that's simply a function of the increase in price and the actual volatility ranges, because you've had 50% retracements in that. But what was interesting about it is it showed that on the short side was actually more profitable than the long side, ironically. But that's the power of futures. And now that, when the more cryptos that move into these futures, ETFs or things like that, the broader the ranges will be, simply because the algorithms can get involved and do what they do, which is volatility, making range so that it can be traded back and forth between. And here's the 50K. This is where the Opus T is currently. Put the strategy report on it for you right there. Collapse that a bit. 2.28 profit factor, longs 269, 169 on the short side. This has not been optimized yet, so in the sense that each of the different buy signals has a series of conditions, and the values within those certainly can be adjusted. And there's a couple of stop areas that I'm still working with that have to be adjusted. Not from forming, but just from a standpoint of like here where you have MBI plus that and some of these where they've had gains and then it turns around. So it's just a matter of making sure all the stop configurations work correctly. But needless to say, we're capturing the right signals at the right times from long standpoint, following through, and then reinserting on subtle moves, because while this one shows only a minor dip, it could have been more severe. You don't know that ahead of time, that it's going to turn around. So it's one of those where at least it's taking the gains and then just reapplying on turnaround of the similar conditions. Likewise up here, it shorted this one, but got out relatively flat of it. And that's the important aspect, is controlling those loss aspects. Playing with it intraday, just a fraction, show the whole day range. Shorted most of that, the little failed long that took place in some of these, and that was just important. You're never going to have 100% on those, but at least it limits loss, takes advantage of the long setups that take place within, and still just continues to go through it. Ended up taking the orange buy on that one early on from this current retrace, and you can see with DOC cyan below green, you're in a power run along one, and of course the MBI red is just straight up, and you can see the same with the shakeout. So following along nicely on that. All good from that standpoint, and we continue to keep making up additional strategies with different configurations, just to give a broad array. So extremely exciting from that aspect, and certainly worthwhile. So hopefully you'll follow along with those. It just creates all sorts of good opportunities, and I'll be sending out the updated language on this as it currently sits. This is the Opus T, which is a little more detailed than the MBI new Opus that you were sent out a little while ago, but just provides a complete suite of different options that can be applied to different time frames, which is to me the most important, because that gives you diversification through time, and you don't have to pick individual groups that are transitioning as much as time gives you that ability to adjust. As always, though, I will continue to update you on the Skype chat. Trade well. We'll talk to you later.